All right. Well, I am excited to be here today. Thank you. Thank you. My second Sunday here, they were like, oh, you're preaching. I'm like, oh, great. Yay. That's awesome. You sure you want more of this? Because I came and guest spoke in April, and I wasn't sure I was ever going to get invited back. And lo and behold, I'm here. But I am truly blessed to be here, and I'm really excited to share with you today. But I thought I'd start with some practical things, because sometimes when pastors talk, I found they don't really give practical advice. It's all theoretical. So I decided I'd start with some life hacks. Have you ever heard about life hacks? Anybody who has the internet? Okay. Yeah. Well, there are life hacks, and they're small things in life that you really didn't know about until somebody had to point it out to you. And they make your life so much easier. Okay, so for instance, I don't know if any of you have ever drank from a soda can. Okay, anybody? Oh, okay. So relatable. Yeah, okay, so drinking from a soda can, a lot of times I'm like, we just drink from it, and we open it, and then we're like, oh, yeah, that's great. And then we're like, what do you do with the tab, right? Some of you, turn it around to identify it's yours so you don't get anybody else's germs. But did you know that the tab is actually supposed to be turned around as a straw holder? Ha! You didn't see that coming. Life hack. Okay. All right. Another thing. Some of you, male and female alike, have used aluminum foil or saran wrap, right? And what's the issue everybody always has, right? When you open this bad chat up, what happens? It just all falls out. Like, oh no, what am I going to do? And then I can't know how to put it back in and use it like a normal human being, and it all falls out, and then it rolls away, and you're just watching it in slow-mo, like, no, don't roll away. Well, have no fear. Did you know that all aluminum foil and saran wrap come with these tiny little tabs right here? And if you push them in like that, yeah, exactly, right? Now look at this. Oh yeah, not falling out. Mind blown. You're welcome. Yeah, you're welcome. You know what? I'm just going to make your life so much better. So you ever go to tie your shoes, okay, your tennis shoes or regular shoes, and you're like, oh, look, there's these two little holes up here. How do I even use those? Those are terrible, right? And then you're like, do I just not one of them? And it's life decisions. You know what I mean? Well, did you know that actually these are intended to make a loop like so that you can thread the other side through and tighten them, so that it's like a tiny little loop just like this. That's what it's made for. So that when you tie your shoes and you tighten them, you don't have to stick your finger on it while you're trying to tie the knot. Whoa! Yeah, so guess what? Even if you don't listen to my sermon today, you walk away knowing something. So but here's the truth. There's all sorts of things in life that we have that we don't always know how to use properly, right? And it's this mind-boggling thing when we have something revealed to us. And so I have something simple that I would like to tell you, because I think it's really important for you to know, and it's this. You don't know what you don't know until you know you don't know. You're like, oh, it makes sense, right? You don't know what you don't know until you know you don't know. You're all like, yeah. Yeah. Trust me, you tracking with me? Okay. So I decided today I would like to let you know something you might not have known that you didn't know. Okay? By preaching the most boring sermon ever. You ready? We're going to talk about the genealogy of Jesus. You guys are so excited, aren't you? In fact, I have a short video that will keep me from falling asleep while I read it. So, yep.
Abraham had Isaac, Isaac he had Jacob, Jacob he had Judah in his kin. Well, then Perez and Zerah came from Judah's woman Tamar. Perez he brought Hezron up, and then came Aram, then Amminadab, then Nahshon, who was then the dad of Salmon, who with Rahab fathered Boaz. Ruth she married Boaz, who had Obed, who had Jesse. Jesse he had David, who we know as king. David he had Solomon by dead Uriah's wife. Solomon, well, you all know him. He had good old Rehoboam, followed by Abijah, who had Asa. Asa had Jehoshaphat, had Joram, had Uzziah, who had Jotham, then Ahaz, then Hezekiah. Followed by Manasseh, who had Amon, who was a man, who was father of a good boy named Josiah, who grandfathered Jehoiakim, who caused the Babylonian captivity because he was a liar. And then he had Shealtiel, who begat Zerubbabel, who had Abiud, who had Eliakim. Eliakim had Azer, who had Zadok, who had Achim. Achim was the father of Eliab. Then he had Eliezer, who had Mathan, who had Jacob. But listen very closely, I don't want to sing this twice. Jacob was the father of Joseph, husband of Mary, mother of Christ.
So if you're wondering, what's a really obscure passage of the Bible that I could write a song about and become famous, you can't pick that one because that guy already did it. So you have to move to something like Deuteronomy. Yeah, so I did that because I'm not going to lie to you, and I am a pastor, and I can't lie on Sundays. It's kind of a boring passage to read. I hate to say that. I'm not supposed to, but it's true. It's hard to read all those names because you're like, what does this even mean? I don't understand. And I'm here to tell you what I think because that's my job, right? Here's the craziest part about the genealogy of Jesus in my mind. Okay? In my mind. They were promised that Abraham's line was going to be the line of Christ, right? That Joseph eventually was going to be the father of Christ. That was promised to them. But you know what's kind of crazy? All but Joseph and his father Jacob got to see Jesus alive. They didn't get to see Jesus alive. They had to know because God had promised to them that Jesus was coming, and none of them got to see it come to fruition. It's kind of crazy, right? Like, hey, I got this. How would you like it if I said, hey, I got this present for you. I'm going to give it to you after you're dead. You'd be like, what? It's really morbid for one thing, but another, I want my present now, right? It doesn't make any sense. All of these guys knew that they were in the bloodline of Abraham, that they were in the bloodline of David, and they knew that God had promised that the Messiah was going to come from their household. Not necessarily their bloodline, because, Jesus kind of had some help with his bloodline. God, right? But they were in the same household, and they knew because they were faithful to what God had called them to, and because it had been passed down generation after generation after generation, that this was what they had in store for their line. Have you ever heard the saying, it's all in a name? It's all in a name, right? Well, they got that. They understood it was all in a name because what had been promised to them was something really specific. But I want to take a look, if we can, at some history behind Jewish culture that would lead them to be so faithful, right? The line of Jesus, right? Not the bloodline, but the house line of Jesus, right, was super faithful to what God had called them to be, and there's a reason. And I want to take a second and look at it. And it's referred to as the Shema. It's referred to as the Shema. It's Shema, right? That's what they would say. It's the Shema. And it's a passage of Scripture in Deuteronomy. So you know how I told you I was going to preach a super boring message? Well, we did the genealogy of Jesus, and now we're going to be talking about Deuteronomy. If you know anything about the Bible, get ready. So here it is. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your might. And these words that I command you today shall be on your heart. You shall teach them diligently to your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise. You shall bind them as a sign on your hands, and they shall be a frontlet between your eyes, and you shall write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. See, there was a big deal within the Jewish culture, which is the line that Jesus came from, that everybody was supposed to pass down the truth of who God was to their children. It's all in a name. Because it was important for them, for their children to understand the same truth that they did about God, and that is that He provides and that He loves. The genealogy of Jesus is in the Bible for a reason. Sometimes we don't always understand why those long passages that we just don't get are in there, but the reason it's in there, in my opinion, is to signify that there was a legacy of love that led up to Jesus' birth. There was a legacy of love that led up to Jesus' birth. Without that bloodline, without those people being faithful and passing on the word over and over and over again to their sons and their sons' sons and their sons' sons' sons, we don't have the loving story that we do in the Bible. It's kind of crazy when you think about it. All of those guys in the genealogy of Jesus, they didn't get to see Jesus alive. They just had to go on the word that God had given them. They had to be faithful. They had to be diligent. They had to understand that no matter what happened, no matter what was going on, that something big was coming, and it was coming through their sons. It's kind of cool when you think about it. There was this woman. Her name was Janice Wasson. Janice Wasson had 2 daughters and was in a wonderful, loving marriage, and was just a solid lady. She went to church every Sunday. She taught Bible study every Sunday night, and she would come and work with the kids on Wednesday evenings just to teach them Bible stories. And every time anybody would come to Janice's house, they would get to see a bright, smiling, ornery woman who just wanted to spoil your kids. Janice Wasson was the epitome of joy and the epitome of happiness, and she was always keen to let you know you were going to be involved in that happiness one way or another. That's the kind of woman she was. Janice Wasson had cancer, not once, not twice, but 3 times, and the 3rd time, unluckily enough, cancer took her life. That was in 2003. Janice Wasson was my grandma. But you know what? Janice Wasson will never know the legacy that she left. It's kind of crazy. She will never know the impact that she had on my life to teach me that God is not this stuffy turtleneck-wearing guy, but He's fun and He's energetic and He's joyful. And guess what? He loves and cares about me individually. Janice taught me that. And she taught my mom that. And she taught my brother that. And she continued to teach us those things up until her dying breath, because that's who Janice was. Janice remained faithful no matter how bad it got. Janice was survived by Rich Wasson, who was my grandpa. And my grandpa was the same. Man, they were a pair. They were funny as all get out. I mean, my grandpa said some of the funniest things I've ever heard in my life. Probably not all appropriate, but they were funny. But he loved the Lord. He loved the Lord. And the legacy that they left was huge. My brother is working a job where he's not with a lot of people that believe the same things that he does. And every day he shows up with a smile on his face and with a good attitude. And one after another, the guys that work with him have tried to figure out why this guy shows up to work every day so joyful. Because, like, all you're doing is making forms and working in the cold all day. How can you always have a smile on your face? And he's very keen to tell him where his joy comes from. It's all because Janice and Rich Wasson made a difference. It's all because they were faithful and loving. I think it's really cool that our word is love, because I think sometimes we underestimate the power that love has in our life. And I'm not talking about your Valentine's Day, soupy Cupid, little baby in a diaper with wings, shooting arrows. It's not the love that I'm talking about. I'm talking about a love that's real and easy to identify, because it changes people's lives. It's that kind of love that when you meet a person for the first time, you're like, they have something special. How many of you would say that if people were talking about you, they would say, oh yeah, they're a loving person? Ooh. Just got real. Right? Here's a simple thing I like to tell people. There's no success without successors. There's no success without successors. Some of you in this room are too young to understand what a successor is, because that's not a reality for you, but some of you do. Some of you know that there will be people that will success you. And it's important to understand that their success is as important as yours. I know that might seem a little obscure, but it all ties back to love, because here's the deal. If you are trying to leave a legacy of love, it starts with your heart. It starts with you taking the time to make love a priority. Doing things, here, I like to tell people, don't do random acts of kindness. Do intentional acts of kindness. Random acts of kindness are great, but do intentional acts of kindness. Be kind to your family. I know that's a hard one. Because our families can be annoying, right? It's okay. You can be honest. This church, can't lie here, so. Listen, family is messy. So are relationships. Do you think that these guys on this list in Matthew didn't have messy relationships? Have you read the Bible? Like, this is crazy. Like, I mean, if I read this thing right, it'll kill you. So, these guys had some of the messiest relationships in history. They started wars. It's nuts. I'm serious. I've read it. I'm like, what in the world? But God used them. God used them because they passed down the love that was given to them in a real way. So real that their kids knew about it. So real that their grandkids knew about it. It was a substantial love. I think sometimes we confuse like for love. That we think people have to like us for them to understand that we love them. I don't think that's the case. I'm married, so I can say that. There's a lot of times my wife doesn't like me, but she loves me. It's the truth. Love is real. And guess what? I'm here to tell you something. Love is a choice, not an emotion. Understand that? It's a choice. It's a choice you have to make every day. In regards to my wife and I, it's a choice that she has to make every day when she wakes up to morning breath. But it's a love that we wouldn't change and we would not forsake for anything because it's so real and it's so important to us. There's days where I know she wants to kill me. I'm not talking about like the play kill. I'm talking about literally bury me in the backyard kill. Okay? Wives, can I get an amen? Amen. Thank you. Okay? There are times when I know my wife wants to kill me. But she loves me anyways. I mean, I tell you, the one day I rolled over and I was like, man, there's a pillow over my head. What's that? Oh. She said she was sleepwalking. I don't know. The legacy of love is important. The legacy of love is important because of what it teaches us about who we are. I'm gonna tell you something. I'm a classic movie guy. Okay, like I love classic movies. There's just something that was so simple and real about classic movies. You put Rock Hudson and Doris Day on the screen, and I'm done. I can't focus on anything else. I can't do work. I just love the simplicity of classic movies. And one of those, because the holidays were the best time for classic movies, right? Right. One of those has Bing Crosby in it, and it's known as Holiday Inn. And if you've never watched Holiday Inn, because I think some people over here haven't, Holiday Inn is the story of a general who retires from the army and starts this hotel, the Holiday Inn. And throughout the course of the movie, it comes to be known that this general has retired and just wants a simple life, but he's struggling, and he feels like nothing he did in the world ever made a difference. That none of the men that he served with, none of the men that trained together with him, that it made no difference whatsoever, and that his life was stuck in this place where he was just going to manage this hotel until he died. And that nobody cared, nobody was concerned about who he was. And then something really special happens. Two of the men that served with him organized this incredible party. And I want to show you the clip because I think it's just so powerful. So. Oh, man. That clip gets me. I'm sorry. It just does. It just really gets me. I don't know why. It's just an emotional clip. It's this moment of realization for the general that everything he did actually mattered. That it mattered. It wasn't just some random thing that nobody paid attention to, that the character and the quality of who he was mattered immensely. There's this passage in the Bible in John where Jesus is sitting down with his best friends, his closest friends, the disciples, and he's talking to them about what is going to happen when he's gone. And they don't realize that that's what he means. They're kind of thick. They don't get it. They don't understand that Jesus is leaving. That he's gonna die, that he's going to raise himself from the dead, and that he's going to ascend into heaven. So they think that the rest of their lives they're going to have Jesus. So Jesus sits down with the disciples, and as he's sitting there, he gives them some indicators of how people should identify with them. As the people who lived and did life closest to Jesus, he has some words for them as far as what they need to strive after. And so he says this. He says, "A new commandment I give to you, that you love one another. Just as I have loved you, you also are to love one another. By this, all people will know that you are my disciples, if you share that post on Facebook." Wait a second. Doesn't say that. If you have a particular political opinion. Wait a second. Doesn't say that either. If you line your bumper stickers all over the back of your car. Doesn't say any of those. You know what it does say? By this, all people will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another. Gosh, it's really simple. You'd think it'd be really super complex. Like, I have to do this, and then I have to get a lamb and cut it in half. And Jesus is like, no, whoa, no. Listen, love one another. It's not hard. You may think it is, especially when somebody hurts your feelings, right? Or does something to offend you, or drives the speed limit in the left-hand lane. Yeah, I know. This is Michigan. You got to drive way too fast, okay? In Ohio, we follow the speed limit. By this, all people will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another. I think we get so stuck in all the other stuff that we miss this. Well, I got to make sure I post on Facebook today that inspirational Bible verse will let everybody know I love Jesus. Yeah, except you're a jerk at work, so nobody likes you. Listen, I know it's hard to hear. I don't like it either. I have to take a piece of my own pie all the time. I'm like, oh, yeah, I shouldn't have been angry. That was stupid. Why was I angry? Why didn't I respond in love? Why didn't I respond with grace and kindness? I just ran my mouth. That's not the right way. By this, all people will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another. Now it's your choice. If you want to overcomplicate this, that's up to you. I just want to make it simple. Love God, love people. I think this Christmas season, the thing that you should push for, beyond everything else, beyond the cool gifts that you get to give and get, I think that you should push to show love in a way you've never done it before. It might make you uncomfortable. You might have to talk to somebody. Yeah. Some of you are like, I do that all the time. You may have to listen to somebody. You may have to bury the hatchet. You may have to do something that you've never done before. but won't it be worth it? What kind of legacy do you want to leave? The greatest legacy you have may be one that you never get to see. The greatest legacy you have may be one you never get to see. We're not all as privileged as the general that we get to have a party thrown for us and Bing Crosby sing for us. You might never get thanked. No one may even recognize the benefit that you provide in their life. And you know what? That's okay. Jesus doesn't say anything about you getting praise or gratitude or thanks. He just says, love one another. No conditions, no fine print, no asterisk. Love one another. It's that simple. So this holiday season, as we talk about Advent, we talk about the church, we talk about your life, here's the challenge. Go love somebody else. Go love somebody else so radically that it changes their view of your God. And maybe, just maybe, you may make the difference that they need. Would you pray with me? God, we're so enormously blessed to be your children, to be the people that you have chosen to love. And God, as we are here today, we ask that you give us the strength to love people and love them better. Love them stronger and love them in a way that is abnormal and unique, but shows who you are. God, your love is your character, and God, we just ask that you allow us to continue to show your character to other people. Because we know that your love is what we're supposed to share. God, this holiday season, as things get hard, we just ask that you can continue to bless us. You can continue to bless us with a perseverance and a stubbornness to love no matter what. No matter how hard it gets, help us to love. God, we ask all these things in your name. Amen. If you wouldn't mind standing and joining us in closing worship as we wrap up today.